right, good morning. Today is Friday. It's the last day of the week. It's August 23rd, 2024. All right. Let's look at the what we have on the docket here today. Let's start off with a quote. Let's try this with the Stoic Epictetus. People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. I can definitely relate that to the market for sure. Not too much going on here for the earnings today on Friday. And then we have our Bostic. Bostic should be speaking already. And then we have Jerome Powell for Jackson Hole at the 7 a.m. Should be his testimony, I believe. I would imagine there's going to be a Q&A after that as well. And then we have our new home sales, which, yeah, minimal compared to the J Powell. Just a reminder for our sector tracker, this is what we were looking at last night. You can look at our review if you want more details. I did put a lot of time in that last night, so please check it out if you have some time for some little insight on how today may look. Speaking of on how today may look, let's go ahead and pull up our session today. Again, you can look at yesterday if you want more details of how we are trading. I'm going to go ahead and put this little zone here for this high volume node epoch zone from yesterday. This is where we had a majority of the volume traded. Not much was done at the highs until we got to here, these 40s. This is what we were referring to yesterday. You can look at this on the DOM and you can see the many efforts of trying to push up here and failing, trying to push up and failing, trying to push up and failing until we eventually just shot down. You can see the same thing here. We ended up accepting prices under the 5,600. That's where the majority of the volume was taken, and we stayed down there. And then just a reminder of NQ. I don't think we saved this. Let's clean up these drawings. Those are the singles that was taken through yesterday. We're removing that little VPOC sign there. And then we still have our weekly candle with the weekly candle being here. And we have our singles that need to be drawn. We'll go ahead and draw these quickly. Again, there was no revisiting to these prices. So these were poorly auctioned. We would imagine we're going to see some revisiting to these 850s, to the 830s. Just this whole 800 to 900 level should be interesting just in general. We won't draw a zone there because this is just for yesterday and it's too wide, but it's just something to be on the lookout for. So if you put this into the weekly candle, you can see that same gap area that we have here. I wouldn't say gap, this is more of a valley. You have minimal volume up here near the highs, a little gap. Majority of the volume was taken in the 800s to the 900s. We have our singles from yesterday. And then this big weekly zone here, which unsurprisingly, we're building volume in here right now and maybe stuck in here. We want to see if we're going to build support above or if we're going to use this as resistance below. Let's not forget where we're coming from. Again, you can look at the daily review for a little more understanding of where we're coming from. So if you're looking at this from hindsight, it'll definitely be helpful. All right, we have these drawings updated. So we have 10 minutes until the market open. Go ahead and get this time down here. Once we are at 9 minutes, I'll go ahead and hit that. We're going to merge yesterday's data for ES with the weekly candle. So we're there. Okay, cool. So we have about 20 seconds until we start this timer. We're going to run through our typical question. And again, we're starting just a little later here because the posture before Powell may possibly be irrelevant because Powell and the monetary policy is going to be the big saying things. Okay, cool. All right, and we'll get our other chart books. Go ahead and on. Again, that's why it's important for us to do things the same way every day. You can look at the 138-minute candle just to see from a candle structure form. ES, well, that was the NQ rather, and then this is the ES. So, just want to ask ourselves our simple basic questions just from a quick glance before we look deeper. Would this overnight session be considered bullish or bearish? These are 3-minute candles. Again, if you're looking at the higher time frame for NQ, it'd be bullish or bearish. I think we would like to say bearish. Like we would say bullish. This is no different than if you're looking at a fractal on a lower time frame. Anytime you have a big impulse candle immediately being revisited up, we're already at, just going to draw this price retracement. We're already at the 50% mark, and the market hasn't opened yet, headed into Powell. So we've already eaten up 50% of that candle. And again, that was done on more lighter volume, but please just look at the video. So I won't waste our time now going over stuff we went over yesterday. So overall, at the very least, this will be considered bullish, neutral rather. Possible bullish tilts, but we'll need more information before we can draw any kind of conclusions. All right, looking at the S&P 500. Same case, at the very least neutral. Looking at the price retracement, we are above the 50. So again, at the very least, neutral. At the very least, neutral, but possibly still bullish. So overall, on a higher time frame, looking at the dailies, highest time frame for the monthlies, we're still bullish. We're still bullish on the weekly. We're still bullish on the daily. But we do have to understand that we are in a turbulent area as we're approaching all-time highs, and we ended up touching this zone here. I believe we're getting close. Yeah, and this is basically July's first week, second and third full week of July. I believe in Q not tasted, but tested. Yeah, this is their third week of July in this area here. So lower high on both sides. So all time frames still point to being bullish. The sell-off yesterday, you can look at the details for the review. So again, I won't belabor that here. I'm trying to do a better job there. So again, go back to our questions. Overall, this would be neutral at the least, bullish a sign of strength. Um, from what we can tell, as we're above like 50% from the highest point of that sell-off. So where we were opening from, again, that same information with the engulfing candle, which you do have to respect. This was an engulfing bearish bar with increased volume and a high bid of delta. So that's textbook possible start of a trend, but we'll need more information. Their goal was to protect this low and ideally drift up, and we're starting up in favorable position for the buyers. They did accomplish this. This was on lighter volume with some effort, more effort on the ES. You can see the delta almost at 5K. And we're about neutral here for the NQ. So we would imagine sellers are trying to step back in and either, you have to understand like who's selling though. You know, is this take profit? You know, we don't see any like really stuck buyers here, or is this new position shorts trying to enter, you know, trying to front run towards this 50? People offsetting risk ahead of Jay Powell. Who knows? We're unsure. All right, we'll leave that here. I don't believe we have any zones we want to. Don't believe we have any zones that we want to draw, as this is just like a big grind. But we did say we're gonna work on this. Yeah, even in the 30, we don't really have too much. At most, really just the end. I mean, yeah, this is just a straight grind up on the 30 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much here. I guess we'll go with that. That probably wasn't the best idea. All right, just so we can keep it consistent for yesterday, so we just have a good idea of where we're at, and then we'll have our overnight low. So we'll go ahead and do one more, just for the hell of it. Pretty much our last area there. It's going to be for the NQ, and then we'll do the same situation for ES. Go ahead and throw on price block so they can say good morning. I'll go ahead and turn on price block for now. And I heard with the volume, I'm going to turn down the block sales, the block orders just a little bit. So we're up and up right back near these 5620s where we know we have some sellers for sure. That's where we believe, given the information, a lot of this selling may have initiated. You can see people taking positions on higher time frames with the seller delta. They're kind of just standing out, especially with the lighter volume that we've experienced. You can just see them just stick out a little bit more.
Block buy.
So we'll see if they're still going to be here. If we have some offsets of trades, who knows? All right, so we have all this information
Block
here. No
buy.
reason to bring up our execution charts at the moment. Again, if you've been following, you can see where we are from a structural standpoint. So let me go ahead and put a little zone here. The
Block
yellow
buy.
areas that I draw are just some that I'm just kind of drawing just in real time. I don't save those. That's just more important for the day, if you will. Markets open. All right, and we'll see what kind of response we have. Again, we do have Powell in 30 minutes. I may go on my news service and see if there's anything worth mentioning. Actually, I'll disregard for now. That may cause a little too much. We're not here to interpret the information and the responses. We're more just here to trade the price action. So again, first 3-minute candle, we'll make sure that we're watching our rhetoric, how we describe things, be very careful of our words, our word choice rather. Make sure we're not overly on one side. Just to feel some sort of bias. Okay.
Block
Crap, I
sell.
saved those drawings. I gotta make sure I remove those. All right, we're gonna go ahead and throw on price squawk. We got a little bit of movement.
Welcome to Price Squawk.
I have it muted for me, so hopefully it isn't too loud. So we have a nice little sell for the first 90 minutes. Trying to touch that first little zone. Gonna see if that's gonna be hit. And what will be the reaction for the sellers and what will be the reaction for the buyers? We know we're gonna have some sellers here. They've been here for for multiple days. But we just want to see the aggression, which is the most important part of it. Yeah, they're gonna be here, but how aggressive? What's the urgency? Are these new money shorts trying to get in before Powell? Are these people trying to get out of positions before Powell? We don't know. Touching these overnight zones for the Nasdaq, you can notice some urgency is picking up here, but the volume is still relatively low. Okay, we've already looked at all of our information. We know what's on the docket.
Block
There's
sell.
no SOC, no senior to crime data catalyst to report at the moment. So things are, yeah, this is just going to be basic price action until we hear from Powell. So as of right now, we're still trading these low 20s. Headed into the 10s, and we'll see how we respond there. We don't really have a zone here at the moment. The end of this red zone here, this is where we found those sellers towards the start, middle of the week. And that's from the 27s to the 17s. So there's definitely there were some sellers here in the past. We just want to see what kind of response we're going to have, just to be on the lookout. And then we have our zones here that you saw us create from yesterday. High volume node. We saw a passive seller trying to step in on the backside of here. So this seems like a bit of a hesitation. So I want to see if he's still going to show up. Or if they're going to have some urgency and just start hitting out towards these lows. Is that a potential new short? Is that someone trying to take profit? Someone trying to break even? Who knows? And it could just be spoofing, so you don't want to look too much into that. But it's just information nonetheless. Let's go ahead and throw up this here cool wool board. We got NQ leading the pack. 70 basis points. Everyone looks good. This is, excuse me, not everyone's looking good. This is a strong showing from market breadth. There's no red here at the moment. There's no red here on the sectors. The only red we see here is down VIX. So again, and everybody said the sentiment is perhaps we're restarting this bearish bias. But from what we can see from this overnight session, this is bullish. This is typically what you would like to see. Not sure what else you will want from the bull case, but we're not seeing any reasons as of now to be bearish outside of the potential start of a reversal structure on the daily candles. We do respect the fact that that was a engulfing candle on high volume. So just textbook We may see more continuation to the downside, but we're talking about possibilities and comments of a speculative nature, opposed to looking at what we see in front of us. And what we see in front of us is breadth,
Block by.
strength, etc. So leading the actual sectors, we have XLK. It's not surprising. XLY, unsurprising. Again, it's going to be Tesla. This is going to be Amazon. It's going to be like Home Depot and a few other like retail spots. Just for technology as a whole, we have Broadcom, we have NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft. Again, everyone is really doing well. We just want to see if NVIDIA is going to continue. Tesla is going to continue. What's up with Amazon? Are they going to pull their weight? Or are they going to be the laggard today? Apple also has been fairly quiet. That's not Apple, it's Microsoft. Apple has also been fairly quiet, so we want to see on this important day, how do they respond? The laggard we have for the sectors is going to be consumer staples, which makes sense. This is our defensive, and at the moment, the market is on the offensive, leading with tech, leading with discretionary, with communications, even finance. Something we want to keep a lookout on, as well as healthcare. These two are the reasons that we held it down yesterday. So very solid job. So we want to see how these core sectors are going to respond. Should be the top 2 and 3, with technology being the heaviest weighted. Then really not too much to see outside of here. But as of right now, you are going to have some bearish remains. So some people may be caught off guard. But we'll really need a little more information. So as of right now, we're trading the 700s, the 720s for NQ. They want to see if they can get back up into, I would imagine price may want to revisit these singles, which are at the 850s to 830s. So we're about 100 points away. Now, whether that's like a target for a brief impulse and rejection, or a price that we hit and try to build around, we just want to see what kind of reaction we have, if any, to those singles. Or if we can just get back above this low volume node for the weekly candle. Looking on the profile, do remember there's a big gap in this area here. So it's a possibility we're just going to see a lot of just volume building. It's a possibility that we may peak above, come back and build. Look below, build. Today is Friday. So, I mean, you have to get your risk in or offset it. And then you have overnight risk. To my understanding, there really isn't too much like global tensions, anything on the news from that standpoint of getting ready to check. So yeah, no real type of fear. All right, so we're about 9 minutes in. We got 3 candles. Let's see what we're working with. Again, we don't have our studies up. We can just see the market for what it is. A nice ranging bar. We have a little poke below. Holding this range, again, we're bouncing off this first overnight area of support. And now we're just inside bar. We're just kind of coiling. So this is going to pop above or pop below. This can't continue to pressurize like this. Look here at the ES, different situation. That same bearish start, pretty much reversed, but it was a nice hold. Let me not say nice hold. Bearish bar match, and then recoiling at the highs. So this is definitely some tension for the bears if you did initiate short and you're holding in a position. We're not seeing eventful excursion above, but again, we're only 1.5 minutes into this fourth bar. Even looking at the positioning of the sell imbalances to buy imbalances, we have a fair amount of ask at the floor and even some bids there as well. Even with some more bids here at the top, it's a possibility they may get left behind, but we'll see. All right, 1 minute. There we go. So we're 11 minutes in. We'll do our mark on the quote board in about 15 minutes. So the video's been up 1%. Apple's putting some work in again. That's why we were kind of looking at them. Amazon is doing a little worse. Or selling off a little bit, showing a little weakness. Some nice continuation and hold. Some continuation strength and holds for Tesla. We're selling off on some of our defensives, holding on industrials. A little bit of weakness for healthcare. Same thing with Eli Lilly. And we're showing some strength from the financial sector. Discretionary and tech pretty much holding it down. We have tech at neutral since we opened. We're not really moving around too much. Probably because of the weakness from Amazon, Google, well, Amazon and communications plus Microsoft is being counteracted with, well, and include Broadcom, it's being counteracted with Tesla, Nvidia, and Apple. So a bit of balancing. Another 30 seconds. This will be the end of the 12-minute mark. Again, no data or anything at the moment. We're just waiting on Powell. And just a reminder, we are not going to listen to the rhetoric. Our job is to focus on specifically the price action and see if there's anything that we can glean from it. Any kind of interpretation is going to delay our processing power.
Block buy.
So same situation. We're not able to get above these 20s. This is a literal
Block
area
buy.
that we have. Once we get above these 20s, and if we get above the 20s for the buyers, and they hold, this definitely will cause some pressure here to this negative sell the negative sell delta. And we have some buyers here kind of stuck at the highs as well. So if we're not able to find some prices above, these guys may end up puking out if they have not already. So it's the same situation where we have the B shape yesterday, and we have the P shape, more like multi-distributed, but B shape versus the P shape. So what we gleaned here yesterday, because we literally just did this, is that we just need to be patient. Things are going to change once Powell speaks. Depending on what's going on around me, I may actually turn on that. Actually, I digress. even if we do turn on the service and we jump on YouTube and listen to, that's the 15-minute candle there. We do turn on the service. I just don't want to just hear anything that would make you think one way or the other. The price is going to speak for itself. Price is king. Price precedes news is the quote. See if we're going to have that excursion above. We'll look at the market profile just so we can see a reference of where we are compared to yesterday. So notice we are, again, do remember we have this high, this is the weekly composite that we have here. We're like right in the thick of things. This is going to be a lot of work for us to get above. It's just like a staircase. We already couldn't get above the 44s yesterday. Now you're telling us that we need to get above. Now you're telling the buyers that they need to get above the damn 30s and then these 40s and then the damn 50s. And then we have to base above this value area high for this weekly candle here, which is at the 48s. So, and again, this was with increased volume. So this will be some work for the buyers to get above these prices. They luckily have power today, so really anything can happen. Some passive buyers here trying to get in if they can't get filled. Notice how they're stepping up. I think that's interesting. They're stepping up. They're chasing that up. Yeah. So this would be in a situation where you want to see, yeah. They stepped in, they got filled, and we're still going higher. So you don't want to trade that volume there exactly itself. But once we pull back, notice ES is at their highs. We got another 35 seconds. There's a possibility we may shoot out of this zone here to where these thinner traded prices are. Especially if ES can get above this P-shaped area here. But what we learned yesterday is you don't want to front run that. You want to get above, use this as support, and then take your trade there. You just have to be a little patient. Use your context clues. Still light volume. That may be that little close above that we're looking for. Excuse me, not that we were looking for, but it's a nice close, engulfing this candle, the prior candle, and now we're eating up this first bar's range. So we ended up tipping the high, I think. That's the high right there. Volume is picking up after trading, and we're inching lower. Again, if you look at the DOM yesterday, this should be very similar to what we're looking at. I mean, quite similar, just with a little more range. So I'm glad that we spent that time yesterday. All right, and then I'm going to look at my notes from yesterday when I reviewed my DOM video, my recording. At the highs, we're spoiling, turning our wheels. I want to see if I can find a reference. So this is basically what it looks like when we're turning our wheels. This is basically what's happening with these buyers, and this is what was happening at the 44s, the 40s yesterday. So I mean, as of right now, we want to say this is more
Block buy.
wishy-washy, but if anything, this is like a one. It doesn't mean we're not going to get stuck out of this grass. We're not going to get out of this hill. But this is what I see in my head. Now they're getting ready to take a little break. There was no high for NQ. We got above our high once, twice, 3, 4 times since the open. And we're not sticking above. Sell imbalance is here. Sell imbalance is at the same spot. If this does see some price downwards, this would be favorable position for the sellers. As of right now, this is still maybe like a +1, given the similar action to the DOM yesterday, P shape versus the B shape. We saw some passive players chasing it up. And ES not willing to trade lower. If we do trade above, this may eventually be support. High delta. That was the wheel training. And then if this is below, it's possibility that if we do break this low, we want to see, is this going to be a forceful break where there, I'll see if I can find a GIF here. I'm starting to see that pull down. Alright, not really seeing too much here. So I'm trying to find a little give here. But if we do get some breaking of this floor, we want to see like heavy sellers or actually break that bitch down. Leave the buyers a little weak. And just actually show some force. We don't want to see this. Which basically be a bid pull. Versus actually some actual force, and you're seeing some hesitancy from the buyers. That's basically what happened yesterday. They gave up. Clear and simple. All right, so just some quick notes as we head into 6 minutes until POW. Let's look at our pull board. Same situation, everyone's green. Strength from the ones we wanted to see. Amazon not doing too well. A little bit of weakness today, only 20 basis points. Not bad. Broadcom's hanging in there. My apologies. Let's see. Communications are green now. Finances recovering some of those losses. So we're seeing breadth across the board from ES. But from a price action standpoint, for this particular area, we haven't seen much excursion to the upside in a hold. Again, very similar to yesterday, except this is not as bearish on the NQ as it was yesterday. Definitely a big difference there. All right, so just some notes from yesterday. All right, we got 5 minutes until PAL, so we're probably going to see some offsetting of trades if we can't get much excursion. Excuse me, if one moment. If we lack excursion above, we may see some offsetting of trades for the positive delta. But, I mean, the delta is fairly neutral as of right now. If anything, you may see shorts needing to liquidate if they are still back holding a negative position, that is, because they are not going to go into PAL negative. So you may see a little short covering rally to begin, but where would that short covering rally take us? Let's create another zone here just for reference. It's easier to see. Those are about the 50s. Yeah, the 50s, 52 to 47. All right, so yeah, we're going to work on saying nice. Again, we're going to say we're going to remain objective to either side. Speaking specifically for the price, give it a voice. There's no I thinks, there's no I wants. We're objective. We're meaningless to the market. 1 minute, we got 3 minutes left. So what is happening? Not what would be ideal. If we do get stopped out, just want to talk about what happened. If we learned anything from it, be specific. If we're trading a specific scalp, we want to give one occurrence, one opportunity per area that we're leaning against. If it's like a version retest play, if you will, where we are testing like maybe this zone on the first touch. Hold on, let's see. This will be the 7/18s. Like if we get below this VPOC and we hit these 18s, seeing it like a reaction here, we're gonna give that just one opportunity. We're not gonna bounce down, test, roll up, get stomped out, come back down, try it again. That'll mitigate a lot of issues that we're seeing as far as reentries. If we're gonna give it a score, we need to give it a Y. So we've been saying like +1. We gave our reasons because of the passive seller the passive buyer that was creeping up and chasing price. That's chasing price. But we're not seeing any follow through and urgency to trade above these prices. No one is really trapped at the moment. There's nothing really to glean. We're just trading sideways. This is a literal open auction at this point. Notice our high, our open is near our high. And this is a very dangerous coiling area for both sides. So if you are anyone who's caught up in this and holding a position until PAL, I seriously pray for y'all. This is a lot of compression on both sides. Don't get it confused. You're looking at the same thing on NQ. They're just a little more rangy. So it looks a little bit different, but this can be incredibly dangerous. We're making another push towards those highs. Notice the book is thinning out. You're seeing less passives. People are sitting on these sides. They're turning off their algorithms. They don't want to get ahead of PAL. So again, we really don't know what's going on here. I may go ahead and play this because I just want to understand how long it is. This is not a data release, so you really can't tell when it's over or what have you. If anything, we're going to play our news service and see how this goes. If this conflicts, it may be too much noise, so you may hear a little less.
10 seconds to the top of the hour.
So I have to unmute mine, so you may hear a little bit of an
Fed Chair
echo.
Powell says the time has come for policy to adjust, and they do not seek or welcome
Block
further
sell.
cooling in labour market conditions. They will do everything they can to support the strong labour market as they make further progress towards
Block
price
buy.
stability. Policy rate level gives ample room to respond to risks, including unwelcome further
Block
weakening
buy.
in the labour market. And the timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on data. And his confidence has grown that inflation is on a sustainable path
Block
back to
buy,
2%.
block
Again,
buy.
that's in fitting with what he
Block
said
buy.
previously. Upside risks to inflation have diminished, but downside risks to employment have increased, again echoing his prior remarks. Balance of risks, their mandates have changed, and inflation has declined significantly, now much closer to their goal. The labour market cooling is unmistakable and no longer overheated.
Block sell.
And as mentioned, they have made that good deal of progress towards a goal of price stability while avoiding sharp increases in unemployment.
Okay. We got 3 seconds to be the end of that minute.
Immediate wake of this, seen very little change in Fed pricing, but have seen upside in treasuries and US equities.
Block buy.
Meanwhile, downside
Those
in the dollar index in
44s.
session lows of 101.25.
Almost at those singles for NQ. Okay, we're in those singles for NQ. It's that overnight zone for ES. Looking here, top right. And this is
Just
also
making that. After a
the
quick chat with the desk, just
prior-
going over those initial
we're under
remarks
the
from
pri-
Chair Powell. He
hold
does
on.
note the time has
Block
come for
buy.
policy to adjust, and they do not seek or welcome further cooling in the labour market conditions. And as such, timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on that data.
Block buy.
Just wake of this, we have seen a dovish reaction with upside in equities here, and that does come as he doesn't allude to any magnitude of rate cut come September. And given those labour market remarks, does continue to leave the door open for that payrolls report on September 6th if it does come in as light as the prior one did.
Block sell.
Alright, so we ended up going all the way up to the 50s. So we ended up breaking the singles for NQ. We ended up breaking that overnight zone for ES. Did they actually break through? Ooh, that's close. Very close.
And folks, just for those keeping an eye on the data slate, new home sales for July came in at 739,000, above the
Block
expected
buy.
625.
Oh yes, new home
Higher,
sales too.
revised up to 668,000.
Alright, just let more of their first flurry kind of come in. We'll see what kind of response we have. So we tested from the IB high, which was the 28s, all the way up to the 52. So that was about
Block
24
buy.
points of excursion. We have some volume picking up again. So again, it's a little easier to kind of gauge what's going on when it slows down. Just a lot of orders flying off. You can't tell if it's stop orders, people repositioning,
Block sell.
offsetting trades, who knows.
Block buy.
All right, so we're starting to see some volume creep back up. accepting these higher prices. And again, we're back at these 44s, and as we're pushing up, we're sliding back down somewhat with a bit of an ease. So after this grand showing for that first minute, which was the opening for Powell and some remarks, I would imagine like a speech, like a written
Block
speech that was
by.
being analyzed, and then there's probably going to be a Q&A and whatever he has to say on top of the new home sales, the home sales data. That was just a lot going on. But it looks like we're continuing maybe that +1, not necessarily wishy-washy given the territory that the buyers have. But that's from the IB high for NQ for 764 all the way up to 8, so about 100 points. About 100 points for NQ and about
Block sell.
24, I believe, what it was for PS. So now we're seeing our rotation down. Again, we want to see what this actually looks like. From a sustainability standpoint.
Block by.
Possibly bouncing off this 5 smooth and average. Gonna see if that's gonna be sustained. So I mean, ideally this would just be a really quick break and retest of the IB high for the NQ, if we're gonna keep it as simple as that. Seeing our structure here. We'll go ahead and draw a zone for this data, this impulse candle here. So we have sort of a nice reference. We'll see if we get back above these prices and if that's something that can sustain. But as of right now, we pull back to that midpoint. Or that was the open. And then we saw a little more excursion below. Bounced off the 5 smooth and average. Almost the IB high for NQ. Okay, cool. So before anything, we have more any more impulses. Let's take a note and see where we are here.
Block sell.
And then I want to see where we are, because I did not take the note. Just want to kind of look at everything. So very, very strong from everyone, and naturally besides healthcare. So not much response from healthcare, or yeah, basically non. So tech was the one who benefited from that the most. Powell says the time has come for a policy to adjust. Have made a good deal of progress towards the goal of price stability while avoiding sharp increases in employment. Sellers up here at these 50s. We'll see if they fall, not fall, if they chase this down as well. So since we haven't actually seen the crime to work with and actual SOCs on, I want to see if we're going to coil above or if we're going to coil below. Because we're eventually going to break out of this range. It's going to be today, it's going to be Monday. One of these days. But ideally for now, want to see if we get above, and if we hold, this may be a potential buy. Because again, this is just part of our playbook where we either coil at the top or below. But we need to see the clear break and then a clear a clear line of defense shown. Volume still fairly light. Don't want to get ahead and jump ahead of this. See what we look like on a daily candle, because a lot has happened. We're almost above. Daily candle for ES. Daily candle for NQ. We got the new highs there. Got another, so we're at the 10-minute mark already. We got another 15 seconds. So a little bit of stuffing. We're kind of forcing ourselves here on the NQ side of things. Ten seconds into this minute. Let's see how they finish this 3-minute candle, that is. NQ underpinning their zone.
For FERSM Ferrovial, it has decided to terminate its buyback program.
Alright. Yeah, just the volume's getting a little light here. We got about 13 seconds to end this minute candle. They're trying to close above this zone.
So folks, just as the dollar continues to ease further, my colleague just highlighting the level around about 192 for the dollar index, which would mark a year-to-date low. We're around about the 100.95 region at the moment, just lingering towards lows of the day
They're
again.
hanging at these highs still. Okay, let's see if these get filled. If not, it's going to be a bit of a weakness. We're still looking at about the +1, maybe about a +1.5. Want to see if these sellers get filled here and see the response at these 60s. Want to see if these sellers get filled. Want to see the response. They may have to become a bit aggressive. Almost there.
Block buy. Block
Okay.
buy.
I end up getting in a little short, 61 quarter, just given the effort that it took for them to fill that liquidity. And this would be more of a lower high play. Just giving us some decent position. Again, the highs up here are at the 66 halves. So again, we can wholeheartedly make a higher high. Just see the effort that it's going to take for us to get above. We are near the prior. Let's see if we can zoom out. We're at the prior IB mid. And we're still below the IB low for the prior IB low for NQ.
Block buy.
Nice push back up. Not nice, but you can see an effort for some buyers to push back up, trying to sustain these higher prices. They're definitely catching some passive sellers here, but I haven't really seen too much from the passives on either side. Powell acknowledges September rate cut, with focus now on the magnitude.
Block sell.
A lot of buys, a lot of buy delta again. The strong buy delta was those big sellers, big passive sellers that they were filling, and just the high volume, just given the data, and then just Powell in general. So we're going up and then we're kind of sliding down. But we're going to see if that's going to be sustained. We have 30 minutes left in this candle. Sorry, I was trying to read some of these notes. All right, we're seeing a drift lower. We're getting back to this midline. It's more of just like liquidation, again, midline for this SOC.
Block sell.
So just to clarify that, remarks from Fed Chair Powell have now concluded. It's likely that he will be giving further panel appearances a bit later today, so we'll keep an eye out for more. Generally, these comments have been widely viewed as dovish, confirming the Fed pivot, as the WSJ's Fed watcher Tim Arreo says. That being, and in reaction, we have seen upside in bonds. Did see upside in equities, but that seems to be giving back much of the upside seen in wake of the initial remarks. In terms of Fed pricing, very little changed. Around 33 basis points of cuts priced for that September meeting. Remember, analysts were generally of the view that that September 6th, August report on the labour market will be the influential factor in tilting that pricing towards 25 basis points or pricing in more chance of that larger 50 basis point move. Through to the end of the year, money markets are pricing around 101 basis points worth of cuts versus around 97 before the release of Powell's text. So it's fully pricing in 425 basis point cuts at present.
I'm just letting him
this year.
I'm just letting them explain it. This is incredibly important to we're in a monetary policy regime, as FT would say. I'm not gonna get ahead of I'm not gonna speak in front of him. So I'm learning more from this myself. Hopefully I can hear it pretty well in the video recording. And I will have to kind of change the way we have it.
Block sell.
Again, I want to bring your attention to response here, lower high. Could not test that that specific area then. Those mid 60s. And then we got back into the range here for NQ for the July weekly zones and end up collapsing in there. Now we're finding our way back down. So as of now, I will say this would be a negative 1.5 because we're still within this SOC range, but just more towards the center line, midpoint now. All right, we're 20 minutes in. Sorry about that. Since that moment, seems a bit of profit taking across the board. We'll see where we are now with this middle range at 720. Actually, you know what? I didn't even look on the other side. That was my bad. So I'm looking at the wrong column. Should be looking here at the difference. So we'll see where we're at after this midpoint. If we go up, we want to see what's bringing us up. If we want to go down, we want to see who's leading us down from this middle point here.
Block buy.
There was some sell liquidity. Pardon me. There was some buy liquidity down here that was not getting filled. So it's the same situation when we saw the 700s near the highs, and those eventually got filled. We want to see if we're gonna have the same situation here where these bids get filled as well. So we're just building volume in the middle of this range.
Block sell.
Looking at the volume profile again, we're sitting at the top of the value right here. So it's a possibility that we may push up a bit more. Let's see if we have some excursion. This was the pullback to that coiling area, but we're not exactly there yet. So I would imagine maybe a little more excursion down to this IB high for both sides. This is just such an impulsive candle to the upside, but who knows?
Block buy.
You know, buyers definitely putting up a fight. We're back above this SOC high zone. We'll see how these sellers get filled here. Now, why they're showing up like that, who knows? But we'll see if they get filled partially. Where's the aggression from the buyers? We're going to get another partial, or we're going to get a sweep? Sweep being
Block
just fill all
buy.
the orders there. Fill all the orders, and then we see the continuation. We're not gonna have. Oh yeah, the Jackson Hole. That's it. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the end of that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn out this new Squawk service. Okay, that was. I knew. I mean, I was saying that it may be uneventful, but notice these sellers are creeping in. So I want to give this a 1.5, negative 1.5, just the way that they're filling in, and then the lack of aggression, if you will, for the buyers on these second approaches back up, because they're starting to step
Block
in,
buy. Block sell.
but now they're getting filled fairly easy, and then we're adding more as they're getting filled. It's interesting to see. That feels like it was a person who did that, so they get filled and hit it afterwards, hit the bid. Just the way the little 1-2 punch. Still a lot of buy delta to finish overall for these bars, but poor positioning from sellers may eventually get squeezed. Just a thought. We're still flirting here with these SOC highs, and Q's getting close to breaking out. They were appearing to be the more weaker of the two regarding their structure. But I'd say it's about even for the most part. Yeah, they pulled back to their VWAP twice, pulled back to our 5 smooth average and VWAP here as well. So definitely nice. I didn't have that. I didn't have that enabled, so I didn't catch that on the first glance. So nice impulses and pullbacks. If they break those RTH VWAP areas, they may have some issues below regarding the buyers. And again, sellers will be the poor positioned participants regarding RTH. But who's the ones that's selling? Can't really get a good idea yet.
Block buy.
Some
Block
more
buy.
selling passives, passive sellers rather. Got more of this spooling near the highs. Gonna see if that continues. Looks like we may get a push through. We're doing this at the same time with NQ and ES. NQ is finally above that 900 level. Again, 800 to 900s have been a bit of an issue for them yesterday. ES did not make a new high in that situation. NQ kind of
Block
ticked
buy.
above. I'm sure you saw those passive sellers on NQ on ES. They ended up getting filled a little slower, and we have another passive iceberg that's just sitting there, spooling up at those 60s. So yeah, I mean, just looking at this, we have the engulfing candle, and these are being supported wall in the middle of this range. But again, we're still in the middle of this range overall for this SOC. So this is the top of the 30-minute bracket. So this would be C bracket. We'll see what kind of behavior we have to continue this. This looks a little similar to yesterday. Lack of willing to trade above these 60s, but we're kind of hanging around. This is a different context. You know, we sold off yesterday from the 60s and couldn't get back above the 44s. It's not the same situation where we're breaking through here and now we're kind of, you know, having a little trouble spooling here at the top. So as of now, we'll have to put this back on maybe like a plus 1.5, if you will. Few little subtle clues here and there. Just want to check the volume for the day overall. You can see where we're at from a higher time frame. If we do burst above, definitely may get some excursions, 65s. Yeah, getting above the 65 will be top of yesterday and for this July 18th. And Q just has some work to do just in general. I have to get over the 20K mark. And then basically the 20K 100. So a little more of a challenge from a structural standpoint from NQ.
Block sell.
It wasn't anything too crazy there, but yeah,
Block
definitely
sell.
a little lapse in that support. I'll be right back. My apologies.
Block sell. Block sell.
All right, just came back. Doesn't look like I missed too much here. Looking at the footprint, may have been like some passive buyers that got filled, put up a fight, possibly an iceberg. I'm not sure. All right, so I'm just getting some air. I'm not staring at this damn action. All right, I'll be back.
Block sell. Block buy.
Got the 15-minute candle that will be done in 3 seconds. Just to see what that looks like here. That way we can just get an idea of what other people are seeing, other time frames. Notice those gaps aren't being filled. Just how long it's taking them to fill them. We may have some more downside for not having any more aggressive buyers here. No aggressive buyers and sellers are not going to get in the way. These are those same passive buyers. They sat here and waited patiently. Back at the IB high for NQ. Getting close to breaking this SNC range, which is at the 51s and the 28s for ES. So ES is much more sturdy. We want to see if these passes are going to get filled. They're staying here as well. They're not getting out of the way. But again, they could easily hit you with the Olay and duck out the way as soon as you come, like a bull and like a bull matador. Yeah. We're gonna see if they're gonna sit there sturdy. So when you look at the prices of the 35s, you want to see how much is actually traded there. And we're at the full session VWAP for both, breaking into the DGPs. All of that got filled, so they stayed there. Look at the volume. Yeah. So yeah, this is the actual forcefulness that I was talking about. Quite similar to yesterday. We're coming into this this zone here. This is where those DGPs were, the IB high. Want to see if that's something that's going to continue there. We got another 15 seconds. They're having trouble getting their footing. All right, I end up liquidating my position there. because we're getting back into that range here, and it'd have been a little better than short on the NQ. Just to be straightforward, I was scared. I was a little
Block
nervous.
sell.
So we ended up getting our range there. Going
Block
to
sell.
exit. Ooh, nice.
Block sell.
Not nice, but it's very forceful. Look at the
Block
drop from
sell.
NQ. Oh, I'm gonna turn this down. So yeah, this is the way price block sounds. Yeah, when shit is getting real. Yeah, and this is NQ that we're listening to. I'm gonna have to fix my damn charts. So breaking into these overnight areas, we end up hitting our take profit areas. We definitely could have been a little more patient given the situation, but you know what? Coulda, shoulda, woulda. We're on to the next trade. I don't have any particular setups right now. At most, now that we're below this SOC range, we're gonna learn as we did yesterday. We want to see if we have these areas, this area of point. Remember, we do have our coiling. Actually, this would be better on full screen. So looking at our ES, we have our coiling here, which we said is gonna be very dangerous once you get above, using that support, which apparently failed so far. Came down to our overnight levels, pierced that. I think we broke that little low there. And we're gonna see if we're gonna balance within our IB low or our IB high, our midpoint, and then our open. We wanna see where we are here. I'd imagine we may end up balancing somewhere in this zone here between the overnight, this first overnight area, and below this SOC range, which is gonna be the top point of this open auction coiling pattern, or under this SOC range, which is part of our play. We missed it yesterday. We're not going to force it today. So we just want to see if we're going to be in the same situations where we can't get above these 28s as we start balancing lower. NQ is much weaker, but like I said, I was being a little scary cat. Absolutely not wanting to short them. I've had a lot of painful experiences, man. Don't judge me. We broke into our range way before the ES. Pierced through two different levels of overnights. I would imagine we may coil between this midpoint or below this IB low if we're looking for a break and a retest. But this is going to be considerably bearish or extremely weak. We want to see how well they trade here at these lows. Is this going to be straight down continuation? Or are we going to see some sort of a pullback attempt to balance? Looks like we're getting ready to break these lows, breaking lows on the E and Q. Volume is definitely picking up very nicely. We're already at 500,000. I'm not going to hit us with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Let's see. So we still have not hit our overnight range to be our overnight low for NQ. And we just pierced that first area for ES for the overnight zone. Let's go ahead and clear out this delta. I want to see if there's anything worth, really nothing too much. Let's get an idea of how we are performing since. Oh no. I'm just going to reload the whole thing. I actually cleared out the volume profile. I want to clear out the bid and ask column. So we're just going to start from scratch. Let's get a fresh look. Close your eyes, wipe your hands, dust yourself off, get some sunlight. Let's see how we trade under DGPs or at DGPs for ES. Let's see how we're building here. So it's definitely a little quote unquote trickier to do this break in this retest to the for the downside continuation. It's be a little trickier because you'll need a little more information and patience for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and lock our account. Need patience for sure. So we're not gonna rush, not because we're trying to hoard our little capital that we have, but more on the fact that we just really need more information to see, is this actually going to be a break and a retest, or this is just like a stop run, given the overall context of what's going on, which is kind of lost to me. Just a lot going on. I don't understand too much of the monetary policy and things of that nature. I'm learning. We'll go ahead and remove these two areas for NQ. Remove this first for ES. We can use our information that we have here from RTH to glean. We want to pay close attention to the SOC, purple zone. Bottom of their range is 751, which is way up here above VPOC. So once we get above VPOC for NQ, for the full session, we'll see we can get to these 51s here. If we can get past these 21s, we may have like a bit of a stop run, but we'll see. Again, we did refresh this here so we can see from this point. How are we building? Build some volume,
Block by.
ran through. Now we're building volume higher, and look at the delta on our way back up. So let's wipe everything away here and just use it simply as context. And then we may have some overhead supply, people willing to get out, especially with the consolidation here, which is at the IB high. We're already past the IB high now. We're back into this range. This would be a situation where if you're going to do this break and this retest, this would be the place here. But given how bullish we have been recently and the bullish nature for RTH, I would imagine we have more of an excursion to the upside. I don't want to short NQ right now, and I feel like that would be the better play. I'm just a little nervous right now to do that. I do want to look at the quote board to see where we've been since that last checkpoint. Primarily tech, communications, I would assume discretionary. Even our defensives doing a little poor. Very nice showing from finance and healthcare. And our other two defensives, utilities and industrials. Overall, everyone is still green. Besides Eli Lilly, who we see clearly, the communications and Meta, and then Microsoft. But overall, I'm still fairly bullish. What a like playing Rocket League. What a save. Very nice save. Do not get this twisted. We didn't want to extend too much to the downside or hold for too long because it's still incredibly bullish. So if you are going to do this break and this retest, no surprise if we test more of the midpoint of this SOC range. These VWAPs, it's 5 smoothing average. Middle of this range here where all this activity was going on. And some of these people that bought here get some of their profit in the first bracket. So it's a possibility that we may see some more two-way trading here. Just a bit of a wider ranges. I haven't looked at the VIX recently. So this would be about the area we're getting ready to smack this VWAP. This would be the RTH VWAP at these 39s. And again, NQ wants to get really to these 51s to test that range again, but they're really going to be the weakest ones. About here is where they will reverse because they're almost at this midpoint and they're at this VPOC. Yes, you may have like a impulse through. Yes, you may slide up this slot here. You can see these passive sellers are trying to inch their way in. But this would be about the area where if this break-in retest would be valid, I say a little excursion, maybe to the 40s, maybe to the 40s for both, or maybe the low 30s for NQ, and then you may see another impulse down a little lower. And this is just given the information that we're seeing in front of us, not necessarily what I want to see or anything of that nature.
Block buy.
So
Block
here's
sell.
that test, and we saw some passive buyers stepping in, and they chased it upwards, I believe, because once this 110 got filled, this disappeared. Maybe if we slow it down, it'll look a little different, but who knows? Okay, this would be more what I'm referring to. This is starting to inch up a little bit more. Notice the tempo has changed. Price squawk has gone quiet. It's just this real light kind of fluttering through these prices. Is that a lack of willingness to sell? A lack of willingness to buy? But we were bullish to get up here. We were extremely weak getting back down. As we hit the bottom of the range, we balance. We find some excursion to the upside. And we hit this midpoint. We get quiet. Why?
Block buy.
Why? Who's hesitating? Who's waiting? Is that buyers or sellers? Who's selling? Is that buyers taking profit? Buyers breaking even? Buyers getting out for a loss? Are these sellers adding to a position? There's a lot of ways to look at this. Even from the higher time frame, you can see that we've had three kind of sellish, more two-way, wider ranges days, back to back, Wednesday, Thursday, and today. Today being Friday, August 23rd. We're just now hitting 8 o'clock. That was that bit of a stalling that we were mentioning. And again, we said more a bit of a short near these high cluster zones here for the reasons that we indicated. But personally, my opinion doesn't matter, nor does my thoughts. If I was going to get in, by all means, put on risk. But ideally, I would like to see a little bit higher of a test that we're seeing now. Notice NQ is a little bit weaker. They're filling in their gaps at the same time. 30 seconds left for
Block
this
buy.
candle. This is going to be a bearish candle turning bullish, or a bear candle turning worse. Just given how green we are across the board, it'll be hard to get in front of this, especially not shorting the tech side, who was seeing some weakness specific to their sector, opposed to the wide breadth across the board. It's a little cheaper to get in. It's easier to structure your trade with the ES, a little less for the NQ. You have to have a little more position or be ready to be knocked out using a small account. You know how it is. However, we need to learn to be able to take our risk when they show up. Because could've, should've, would've, you know. All right, so there's a little bit of stop runs that we're seeing. We got 15 seconds. So we went from a weaker candle to trying to be a little stronger. Now we should see maybe a dissolve lower, maybe like a little slow crumble, or we're gonna shoot up. Let's see, we're talking about it, we're discussing. This is that slow crumble, but does it persist? Someone is waiting on something. And we don't have enough clues to see why. We're back in the middle of the range, and you don't want to diddle in the middle. As you can see here from NQ, NQ is basing under this lovely range, coiling at the IB lows, while ES is coiling at the IB highs. And that's who we were shorting. Ain't that foolish?
Block buy.
All right, here's be that potential stop run. So this is the high of the area that we've been at. We haven't traded above these 37s since we've been down here. This would be our first attempt. ES and NQ are doing it at the same time. Notice how quick we're kind of dissolving a bit lower. There may have been the opportunity there. I was sitting back in my chair. Oh, I'm just curious how NQ is going to respond near these 30s, 40s, the 36 to 51s. So they're starting to leak up a little bit, leading us there. Trying to break out of here at the same time. Let's go ahead and do our snapshot on the quote board. And let's see what happens from this area here. Notice you get shot down and there's no like recoil back upwards. Yeah. I believe this is an error on my behalf of not entering this trade short near these 37s. This is the same situation as when we were failing the 44s yesterday. I'm not sure where the hesitation is or what exactly I'm looking for. It could be a bit of a maybe higher volume. I'm not sure. But I will say we'll switch these to 30s. The footprints that is. My apologies. Let's see if I can put these as 2s. May make this a little easier to see. Sorry about this again. Okay, so we're above those areas. I would imagine we're going to see like a little snapback. Okay, so now we're in those 36s. This selling delta is what I was referring to. Yeah, I'm doing this damn commentating and not fucking trading. My apologies, but that's exactly what I was looking for. The run up there and notice how just light and fucking weak that was. And that was the midpoint of that SOC range. Pull back to that 50. I have it locked. So I do feel myself being a little bit worked up. Just do my breathing exercises, the 4-7-8. Hold in for 4 seconds. All right. Just some light breathing, just staying calm.
Block sell.
Still got it locked, yeah. I'm going to the short. I'm not sure if this is something that I want to do. I'm not sure where this holdup is. I feel like it may be partially the sellers that are at the bottom. They have ill position. And then just the overall breadth of everything. But where are we at on the, we are still below the prior day's range. All right, we're slipping through. Prices. Very light volume. That's 2 5-minute candles there. We're at the 10-minute mark. I did not get filled. It's okay. It's okay. You know, we put a passive in. You know, if we really wanted to get in, we could have hit the market, and that's what everyone else did at that moment. It's all good.
Block buy.
Very good recognition of the selling, though. We understand our playbook and the variation that we're
Block sell.
coiling under for the NQ. And we had a little bit of a higher excursion for the DS. All right, since we possibly missed this, and it'll be a different case if we come back up. Notice the volumes pulling up here at these lows. Go ahead and put on mute. I do need to
Block
start my
sell.
journal.
All right, so I'm not one of those "I told you so" kind of people, but this is partially why I didn't want to get in. We're just extremely bullish overall for the day. I would not have liked to see us shoot down and coming back up on a open test and a test of this range, this bottom balance area. We found support at the 64s, which is down here. So we were already be back at break even and a bit negative right now. Should have been, would have been a break even trade. Now this is a stop out. This is kind of what I was looking for earlier, but at this point, I'm a little confused. I'm trying to journal right now. So
Block
I
sell.
pass. Again, something just, yeah, this, I don't know, it's just the order flow plus the context of where we are just overall with our day. The majority of that felt like profit taking with a little bit of selling off. So you would think now, hey, now would be a better time for you to get in. It would be quote unquote cheaper to get in on the short side. However, the context has changed. We're still continuing to make higher highs and higher lows, and to jump in front of this, we'll still be inside of this range here for ES, and we're just now hitting the bottom of this range for NQ. Looking at the context of things, you can see how everybody's performing. Not the strongest overall. Both ES and NQ are up 14 basis points. But again, the scenario has changed. The context has indeed changed. Passive sellers getting filled
Block
with
buy.
ease. ES pushing near the top of that range. Telling you, man, little small nuances. So I know people talk bad about like emotions, and this may be potential. Hold on. That quiet period again. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and stop. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop because we're not really too for sure. We're kind of just stepping in front of a train here, possibly. But this is exactly the trade for NQ. But just the context is just a little bit different. I'm trying to think about this. Just pulling above these 50s. Get rid of this.
Block buy. Block sell. Block sell. Block buy. Block sell. Block sell.
Interesting.
Block buy. Block buy. Block buy. Block buy. Block buy. Block sell. Block buy. Block buy. Block sell.
I don't know what just happened there, but that was strange. Yeah, I missed it. Too late, damn. Sitting there journaling. What the fuck was that? You saw all these buys pop in, and there was like a little gap, I believe, and it just sat there for a while. And now we're crashing down. Damn. This is why you shouldn't journal, guys. Miss trades. Nah, I'm just playing. Alright, back to my journaling. Oh well.
Block sell. Block sell. Block buy. Block
Start up a new
cell.
5-minute candle here. Pressure is kind of waning. Volume's getting extremely light here. I'm still typing. If you notice, we're here at the top of this little, a lot of imbalances happening here. Basically the same thing for the S&P 500. They're right at their VPOC. We're at our VWAP for NQ. It's really light, really light. So we're probably going to see a move upward to the downside. We're doing a lot of coiling here. And here at the top of this SOC, at the bottom of the SOC for NQ, which is why we were looking at them on the weak side, but really not liking how they're becoming a bit sturdy and just kind of hanging around these prices. We want to see a swift rejection, similar to above this SOC. However, this was considered expensive. This is meh. This is about sideways for price. We're still kind of agreeing on it. I don't want to just diddle straight in the middle, so just something to be mindful of. Yeah, I would imagine we're going to see a little more downside. And this is our play. We were in this. We just liquidated, man. I'm not spending all this time looking at this. I'm doing my journal. So I'm going back on mute.
Block cell. Block cell. Block buy.
So notice all those sellers that's been kind of piling up. Someone just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go with you. We'll get filled at the same time." And they're still sitting there waiting. So you want to see if they're gonna stay here, or if you see some big market orders that comes in, and see if this dissipates. So maybe they're getting a little bit antsy. And again, we're not having too much excursion to the upside. If we are, it's in the grind mode. Now notice all those disappeared. So where are they gonna go and why? There may be a possibility to track these at prices lower. You'll see if they kind of randomly show up. Some are back down here, creeping up. What's a possibility we may have like a big sweep that comes in, sweep some of these offers. But we'll see. Some sneaky behavior going on here. I'm not a part of it. And notice we ended up getting up to that 800 level, which is where we pretty much was gonna have our stop. It's about the 818. Yeah. So I mean that may be another example of you want to put your stops, put your entries where your stops will be. Rest in peace to David. Oh no, I forget his last name. Oh no, because I definitely don't want to disrespect him. Sorry, I know a lot of Davids, so make sure I'm not giving this wrong. David Paul. David Paul. Should definitely look him up. I believe he was a mentor to Tom Pogard as well. Okay, going back on mute.
Block sell.
Trying to fill in his gaps. Pushed in, immediately hit the downside a bit more. Yeah, this is more of what we were looking for. But again, you know, we started doing our notes. It took a little while. Want to get above that range and see how we responded. We went up, collapsed lower, ended with like a nice little compression bar here. we're already trading 60
Block
points lower
sell.
from where that high point was in a matter of 3 minutes or so. But we've been seeing a lot of pullbacks. They've been withstained. We'll see if that's going to continue here, if we're going to eventually break through. Which again, this is part of our playbook, coiling around this IB low. But again, just the amount of time that it was taken. Something that we need to kind of iron out for future reference. If we're in a situation where we're coiling for too long, we want to see a break above and possibly enter there and try. But again, that's something you really need to be attentive to because you may miss it. Passive
Block
sellers
buy.
filled easily. And we're
Block
cruising back
buy.
up. I want to see if we come back down. I'm going back to my notes. I'm not going to let this distract me.
Block sell.
We are hitting the Euro close. It's 9 o'clock at this point. I'm going to go ahead and drop off here. We'll let this finish. Just a reminder of where we are. Our time frame still below our intermediate time frame, still below the prior DGPs for NQ. Tested the prior IB mid for ES. Couldn't have much excursion into those prices. We have based coiled for the A bracket, anticipation of the PAL and home sales data. Completely shoot upwards. Couldn't really get excursion above those prior day ranges as we discussed. Basically coiled sideways. Small momentum segment. Just want to make sure that we get this on record as well. Not gonna rob us of a good opportunity to learn. So we basically had an open auction for A bracket. We had a nice bull flag for B bracket. Complete U-turn for C bracket. Found our way back into the DGPs at the IB high for NQ and the IB high for the ES, but we push all the way back to the top of the SOC, the high of the scene of the crime area, which again goes back to the high point of that POW release and the new home sales. As we coiled above the IB high in this SOC, we coiled, and now we're finding our way back down for a possible open auction for that pass. I believe that'll be D bracket. So basically coiling, bull flag, reverse, reverse, coil, reverse again. Definitely just two-way trading across these time frames. Really not too much to report here. We do have nice volume, lots of delta, positive, negative, and we're sitting about sideways. And then we have the same situation here, yes, except a little more pronounced with the sellers for this 730, 30-minute candle, and even starting to step up. They have favorable position on all sides, not so much for the bull. So definitely we will lean more to the short side, which was the whole point of our coiling below the SOC play. We just didn't have a specific process for what if we coil. Really wanted to look for a coil or look above, and a nice little compression in or rejection with those higher prices above that coiling zone. We're now seeing ES trading lower as well. Could have definitely got in there, but again, we got a little too much in our head for seeing how bullish
Block
everyone
sell.
as a whole. So again, we're not gonna say could have, should have, would have. Definitely proud of what we have, what we did. We're gonna go ahead and close it there. We ended up taking 5 trades. They all ended up being a bit positive. But for our notes, the main thing that we need to work on was just some hesitations, and that was just a lack of clarity in our process for the specific trade. But now we have this information, and we'll go ahead and add that to our notes. We didn't take as many breaks outside as we would have liked to actually get some sunlight, be a normal human, as they say. Things we did well, we added to our position when it was favorable, and we did it fairly early, while we still had information risk opposed to price risk. But we did have a little more information. We didn't have much heat taken on those trades. We ended up taking profit. We ended up holding a little runner. We were able to withstand some heat because we already had our risk off from the 2 contracts, and we were able to take another contract as we headed to the prior date DGPs. Pretty much sat on our hands and tried to scalp around for this NQ for a potential short, even though this is supposed to be more of a structured play. But now we have a better understanding of when we have coiling around this SOC, we want to see if we can have a coil and then a impulse out of the range, and then see a rejection, which will force us to go back into that range, which may dissuade some people to stick to their position, or possibly give a chance for new money position traders to jump in and kind of push the market around, if you will. So again, we'll go ahead and leave it there. I don't really have too much else to add here, and we'll shut it off. Again, thank you for joining. Please have a good week and get some rest. Do have NVIDIA next week, I believe, but yeah, we'll say that for another time. Toodles.